another thing which I want to ask you is making our courts disabled friendly. I want to ask you, because you've taken so many measures on this matter. It's personal to you also.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Well, I wouldn't begin with why it is personal to me first. I'll speak as a former judge. Uh, we have a very unique piece of legislation in India, which is the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, and which speaks of reasonable accommodation to individuals. And we've applied those norms. I've had a case where someone with a writer's cramp wanted additional time, and we sort of developed a whole theory of reasonable accommodation. We had a petition recently which came up where there was a very pejorative portrayal in the visual media, in a film, of disability humor, as it was called. And we then tried to distinguish between disability humor, which is acceptable and which is not acceptable within the framework of Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution. Just before I retired, we had this young student who was 88% disabled and who wanted to secure medical admission for the MBBS degree course, and was rejected on the ground that, well, he'll not be able to pursue medical studies. And we had him reassessed by a very competent disability professional and directed that admission should be granted to him. On the administrative side, I had an accessibility audit conducted of the Supreme Court premises by one of my colleagues, and that resulted in an accessibility report. And we have tried to implement the accessibility audit report in making the Supreme Court more disabled friendly. We've opened a Mitti Cafe in the Supreme Court, which is a cafe which is run exclusively by individuals who are disabled. In fact, we have a young couple in the cafe who got married after they met each other in another cafe. But all of them are running the cafe. The idea is to send a message across to society that they're capable of leading independent lives in dignity like all of us in society. It has a lot of meaning for me personally because Kalpana and I have two wonderful young girls who've come into our life when I was Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court. They originally belonged to Uttarakhand, and I think they adopted us. As I always say, our paths crossed and they're part of our life. They're with us, Priyanka and Mahi. They are 16 and 14, and they've been with us for nearly a decade now.
Did it make you more sensitive towards this? Because, it's so cut and dry, and when you're dealing with certain issues, but if in your personal life you're experiencing all this.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's after all our personal experiences as human beings which shape the way you respond to issues. I mean, the fact that, I live with two, specially abled children who are our own affects the way I look at disability. And that's part of, how I've tried to portray disability as not a medical issue, but a social issue. The barriers on the disabled are barriers which society imposes. They are capable of leading adequate and fruitful lives.
Do your daughters watch you on TV now that, the proceedings are live? Do they watch you?
Yeah, they watch me. They watch me. They tell me when I'm trolled. They've come to my court. I've brought them into my court. They've come and seen my chamber in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And they're intrinsic part of our lives for Kalpana and me.
So they follow you on follow the things on social media.
And honestly, they've changed the way I look at the world and Kalpana looks at the world. For the last 10 years, they are both very deeply into the environment, into leading a cruelty-free life.
Okay.
And our younger daughter, Mahi, was, prevailing upon us, persuading us for almost the last several years that we should, be vegans. And the fact that we turned vegan has a lot to do with, what we received from them in terms of ideas, video clippings, news articles, stories on the print media, on the electronic media that they've been reading. That's played a very important role in why we have adopted a cruelty-free lifestyle.
Click here to watch the full episode.